Hey everyone, welcome to episode 2 of Uncolonized Podcast. Sorry, just off the top, I want a huge apology to you. Last week, we put up a shortened podcast. We meant to put up the full thing, but I think wires got crossed, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, this week is going to be the full podcast, plus the bonus for you Patreon subscribers. So remember, $5 a month at patreon.com/theuncolonized. You can get the full 2 hours, hour and 40 minutes of podcast with this conversation and another part, a second part of the conversation. Anyway, this week on episode 2 of Uncolonized, we are reviewing the documentary on Netflix by Chelsea Handler called Hello Privilege, It's Me, Chelsea. It's where Chelsea Handler, the rich comedian, you know where I'm leaning with this. I'm sorry, I didn't even know why I said rich. Where she comes in, she did a documentary about how she's discovering her white privilege. Blee Black and I are back, and we're doing this. So enjoy episode 2, and then we're just gonna spin off and talk some more about the election in the second part of this episode. So I hope you enjoy the movie review of. Are you there, Privilege? It's me, Chelsea, or hello, Privilege? It's me, Chelsea. Chelsea. Anyway, let's get into this. I'm not getting paid, so enjoy what you get. Anyway, thank you very much. Remember, you can follow us at The Uncolonized on Twitter, Uncolonized Podcast on Twitter, Uncolonized Podcast on Facebook, or MRD Podcast. Still working on that. Uncolonized on Instagram, and where you can find us on iTunes and blah 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 blah. Okay, so yeah, we're B Black and I are here. What's up, B?
What up?
Hey, we don't really do this. Let's do a little house cleaning. Sure. You can follow me at on Twitter at Gavin B Stevens. And Facebook Gavin Stevens, Instagram Count Gavin, and GavinStevens.ca. I have all my show dates and everything coming. I got next week, the week after this podcast airs, I'll be recording a new album at the Ossington in Toronto on October 24th and 25th. So that's 7 p.m. with Jen Cicada opening, and I'll be headlining. B, you can go ahead. You can shout out and say whatever you need to say and do your things, because we never do this, and I think we should do this.
We should do this, yeah. Problem is, you got me up against open mic against the pro mic.
You can say whatever you want. You can advertise your Instagram and your Facebook. You have a you're very prolific on Facebook.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yes, I'm on Facebook. Barnell Black. Damn, I just said my government name. Anyways, Barnell Black. My comedy page is b.black, which I'm told no one can find, so I got to fix that. Twitter, B Blizzak.
Yeah, no, that's right.
With that is whack. Anyways, B Blizzak. Instagram is Le B Plus. But you know what? Holler at me on Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah, Twitter and Facebook. Yeah, your Facebook. You're really on point with your Facebook. Like I go on there and I'm like, okay, I see all the MRD stuff because I can't change the name from Master Race Debaters for some ungodly reason.
I saw that message from Facebook.
Yeah, did you? Like, it's continuous. It's been like an ongoing battle. I'm very exhausted right now. I'm doing a coding boot camp as well. So I'm just all exhausted. But anyway, yeah. So follow B on Facebook. He's really good. His posts are really good. And us, I did house cleaning for the podcast. So whatever. Yeah. So this week, this episode, I want to apologize for last episode. I put up a short episode. It was a mistake. I got confused and blah blah blah. Anyway, this one is going to be a full. This week we're doing one of our movie reviews. We watched the movie. Chelsea Handler. It's on Netflix. It's called what's it called? Hello Privilege, It's Me, Chelsea. And it's basically it's a 2019 documentary directed by Alex Stapleton and starring Chelsea Handler. The premise revolves around examining the concept of white privilege. Yes. It's a movie about Chelsea Handler discovering her white privilege in the declining years of her stardom.
Why are we laughing?
So it's because apparently I guess she used to not know that she was, she made that, she wrote that book and did that special, You Got to Be Kidding Me.
You got to be kidding me. Yeah.
And she didn't know that she didn't come, she started realizing that, she needs to, oh my God, I need to be woke.
Yeah. Okay, keep going. Okay, yeah.
So
I haven't thought of that one.
Well, there's a lot of stuff like she interviews Kevin Hart and and what's her name, Tiffany Haddish, who I like. I'm not no insult to them, but like when talking about like racism in the industry, I don't know if I would. I guess they would have a perspective on it, but those are the two. They don't really deal with that kind of stuff in their comedy, right?
In their comedy, you're right.
I don't think it's really. I think like if she brought out DL Hughley, that would be like I would be like okay, yeah.
But you like the fact that the outside the scene they talked about all the bullshit they had to do just to get to where they're at. How many bar mitzvah did she say she had to do?
Yeah, but I think like that's a comedy thing too. I think that's like. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think like a lot of comics have a lot of bullshit stories. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying this isn't a race thing. It's just it becomes. Well, is that an entertainment thing or is that a race thing? As opposed to
okay.
You know what I mean? As opposed to being like, hey, Saturday Night Live has only hired 2 Asian people in the 40-something years it's been on the air. It's just like, okay, yeah, I can. But anyway, I'm not. That's just nitpicking at that point.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So in the documentary, she starts out talking to them, and then she goes to, I guess she goes to like a student meetup, like a safe space.
Spoken word event.
Yeah, spoken word event. And I saw the spoken word, and I was like, oh my God,
cringe.
I know. I was like, I'm so glad I'm not in that room.
I'm not there.
I watched that documentary twice, and
hey, bro, it was like watching Mary J. Blige sing to Hillary Clinton.
It's so true.
That shit felt like cringe.
There is something about young people where I admire their passion, but their corniness just fucking kills me. Like it's just like, oh my God, you people are so goddamn corny. Like
word.
It was so corny, and I was.
I'm scared to get till we get to the end of this, to the rating of this episode. But sorry, keep going.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, jump in. I don't want to do like a by myself, like explain it. If you want to jump in. But like so she finally goes up, and it's so awkward, and people are like they're calling her on the "You Gotta Be Kidding Me" stuff because she's like, I'm doing this documentary for Netflix and blah blah blah, and I'm trying to figure out. And people are like, well, I find it embarrassing that you're here. And people are like, well, it can't just be this documentary and all this shit.
Yep. And I like that one, the black girl, feel free to edit this part out.
Yeah. She said that, feel free to edit this part out. Like the balls of you to think that you might be in this documentary, but feel free. Again, it's also like an insult's coming. It's it's the documentary version of I'm not a racist, but feel free to edit this out. But they just none of them are impressed, right? Which speaks volume of how Chelsea is trying to brand herself now. But I mean, and then so she's like, "Oh, you're right. I should talk to white people." So then she talks to Tim Weiss, who talks about white privilege, and they crack jokes and whatever. And he's like, "Well, privilege is." He kind of explains the idea of privilege. And then so she's like, "Oh, so I have to talk. This is a white person's problem. I got to talk to white people." And here's one of my problems is that there's only like 6 white people in this documentary.
For real? I didn't even notice. Holy shit.
Because she talks to Tim Weiss, and then she goes to this black historian who has this, I guess it's a monument somewhere in the south of towns that were like destroyed because of racism, because of slavery and Jim Crow and stuff like that, and all these monuments. And I'm like, okay, well, here's the black tragedy part. Here we go. Okay, it's out on display. Yes, we know. Yeah, we were destroyed and beaten and chained. And then it gets to, then she goes to like, She goes to what's it called? Oktoberfest. This like the whitest places you go.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And she asks white people if they have privilege and blah blah blah. And it's kind of like what Hollywood does whenever they have a racist. They get like the most like, hey, here's some rednecks, right? And I'm like, you could have stayed in Hollywood and found some fucking racist people.
Break it down, right?
You didn't have to go. You didn't have to go to fucking. Well, we got to go to like the deepest woods to find these motherfuckers. Hey, can you put down your goat mask and stop dancing around the fire to answer some questions? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like they always have to, like, no, racists aren't here. Racists are, they're people that they wear barrels. They don't wear clothes. They wear barrels with straps. They don't, you know what I mean? They're all barefoot.
Yeah, they're all barefoot.
Yeah.
They play the banjo and
exactly.
Ding, 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 yeah, whatever. Yeah.
And then I guess she has a couple of black intellectuals and a couple of black entertainers, and then she has average white people, and then is this when she goes to those conservative women?
Yeah, her homegirls.
Yeah. Oh, those are her friends.
Yeah.
Fuck, I don't know how you can hang out with those women.
but I guess she was showing that they're just as oblivious as I was. And only difference is I'm making an effort to realize that. What's the word you use? I'm an idiot.
Yeah, but even like to the like. Okay, so there's a point when she's talking to them, and they're like, "Oh no, I don't. I think everyone has privilege." As one white woman conveniently says. I think, and then the other one, they're all doing the story how black fathers aren't in the house, and they're doing all these dumb stereotypes. I earned what I got. And I'm like, well, how do you know they didn't earn one? Like, do you think this is a meritocracy? But anyway, not to argue these dumb points. She goes. Chelsea makes a point about how when she gets pulled over by the police, she's never worried about the police killing her, or she never feels threatened. And the woman's like, that makes a good point. I guess there is like there's some sort of disadvantage to black people.
There we go. Yeah.
But wait, this is where it's fuckery, right? Because the one woman goes, "Oh, do you believe there's white privilege?" She's like, "No, I'm not saying there's white privilege, but I believe there's black disprivilege."
Yes. Yeah. That's the closest she could come to it. Yeah.
The woman made up a word. She invented a word to not say privilege of white people.
Yeah. But to me, it's interesting. You saw it that way. To me, it shows the sincerity of her ignorance. Like, I'm not calling her. I mean, I'm calling her stupid, but I'm saying, but at least she's slowly realizing, oh shit, 2 + 2 can equal 5.
You and I have a different stance on this. Different stance, because I'm like, this is not ignorance. This is protecting themselves from a system that they benefit from not knowing how it works.
Yo. I'm scared at the next black people meeting, you're gonna report B is catering for white women again.
No, because I think this narrative has been shoved down our throat. So like,
gotcha.
Because even me, after watching this documentary, I'm like, I'm doing this bit now about I hate the term allies. This documentary is an ally documentary. It is ally. Okay. I hate that term. It sounds like white people need a cape or something to do some normal shit, right? But my favorite is I'm gonna stop using the term privilege, especially white privilege, because everything that these people are describing is white supremacy, not white privilege.
Right.
It's not. That's not privilege. Because what privilege does, it's exactly what you said. It gives white people distance, and it makes them like ignorant. Like, I didn't know. I didn't know, and it's like, oh, but you're kicking me in the head. Like you're kicking me in the head, and I have to explain to you that you're kicking me in the head. Well, like that's white privilege to me.
True, it is, but we're still in the slave class. We're still we're
an underclass.
We're an underclass. We're that group and this documentary made it clear for me. It's either we're hated or pitied. One of the two.
Well, there's a point in the documentary where she goes back and visits her old boyfriend who went to jail because this is when
oh my God, yes, that story.
Yeah, that thing was tough
that was tough to go.
That
through,
was tough. It also it touches close to the real problem. Like it talks about how how the prison industrial complex treats black people. It does a lot of that, where it's like the prison. It's always like talking about the minor, like it's always talking about the major stuff, but it doesn't talk about like other things, like the idea, like the fact that an educated black man has a less of a chance of getting a job than an uneducated white man. You know what I mean? Like they don't talk about those statistics. They talk about like even when her white friends are like, oh well, they get more college things. She's like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
There's no point, like, they don't connect the system to the idea of, well, okay, you talk about slavery, you talk about Jim Crow, and you talk about the police system, and you're like, you haven't connected all of it. That's not privilege. That's white supremacy.
But it's look at it this way. You're looking at people who don't have to, like, they can go their entire life, they can die.
Yeah.
Believing that their world is exactly the way it is.
But sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
But I guess I'm looking at it from I've lowered my expectations when it comes to white people. I guess that's what it is. You know what I mean? It's in a sense that they don't need to know our pain. They're just like when we were slaves. They don't need to know our struggles. For all we know, for all they know, we're making this shit up. We're just trying to get their pity so we can take advantage of them. And like they have every reasons to be defensive to everything that we have to say.
Well, this is my
why
thing.
The folks who get it to me are like special human beings to be.
But who's the documentary for? Like because like they're showing all this slavery stuff and all this stuff, and like I'm not trying to diminish it. I'm not trying to say, but it's like, okay, we know this stuff. Like this is not for black people. This documentary isn't for black people.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
So who is it for?
Who is it for? It's for fellow white folks.
Yeah,
white people.
But white people that are going to agree with it know that this shit exists, or at least acknowledge it.
That's a good one.
So who is it? All it is a fucking it's a branding tool for Chelsea Handler. It's this economy of tragedy porn where like they talk about our problems but they never solve our problems, and they make money on the talking of it but they never solve it.
You got me fired. Okay, how about this? Let me flip it this way. Remember when you first read? I'm gonna assume it had the same effect when you first read the autobiography of Malcolm X.
Yeah.
Were you changed or were you starting to change when you read that book?
I was very young when I read it. I read it in high school, so I went through 3 different phases in it while reading it.
Reading it?
Yeah, while reading it because when he became Muslim and he was like with the Nation of Islam, I was like, fuck white people. And then when he became like, oh, Mecca, and I saw all the different shades of people and blah blah blah, and we're all praying together, I was like, as a young person, I was like, it's a very post-racial attitude. It's like, oh, we're all one, but it doesn't, like, as a 44-year-old man understanding somewhat the political nature of this shit, I understand that it's not post-racial. We're dealing with issues of systemic problems. This is why they're talking about reparations in the States right now, is to level these systemic issues. Like this documentary touches on systemic issues, but it doesn't connect to systemic issues.
It doesn't. What I'm getting at is, when did you come into terms with your blackness? Because I'm sure it wasn't when you first came out of were shot out into I don't want to be your mom's stomach. You know?
No. But there's always where you're
what was for me it was definitely. Okay, hold on. My mom used to tell me stuff about slavery, and I always had that anger. But I would say that hearing Run DMC's Raising Hell album first got me into hip hop. But that track, Proud to Be Black, I remember realizing that track made me. I didn't realize I was allowed to be proud to be black.
Yeah.
Like, it was a new thought for me. It was revolution. And I think what I'm trying to get, I think this documentary is supposed to be the Raising Hell version for white people, for oblivious white people. Yeah, I think that's who the target is supposed to be.
I hear what you're saying. Okay. I hear what you're saying. I don't know. I think I'm more jaded than you. I think.
No. We can compete on jadedness.
Okay, well,
I haven't gotten to that.
I think I'm an 8 on the jade level. I'll give you a 7.5. So,
but we should, but here we're two black guys trying to understand how white people think. Shout out to our white listeners. If you've seen the documentary, who do you feel that shit did it connect to you? Did it make sense to you, or was it shit that you already knew? You know what I mean? Is this something?
I think like people who listen to this podcast have to understand like that. Like there's a disparity. You might not like be able to like accurately put your finger on what the disparity is, or you might not be able to like quote statistics and numbers, but there's an underclass and an upper class. You do know that. Even when she's like, I don't see black people in my neighborhood, and it's like, yeah, you know what? But you have brown people around you cleaning your fucking yard. Why do you think they're predominantly brown?
Yeah, well,
because that's the underclass. And here, you know what the most poignant thing in the documentary is when the mother, who was the former drug addict,
oh my god,
she's like, she was on drugs because she hated her features. She hated because she was mad at her mom for her father being black and choosing a black man, and she got these features, and she was angry. And it's like, if this wasn't if she didn't live in a society of white supremacy, that would just be like, oh, self-hate, and that's like, but that's the most natural fucking thing for that person to have, like to say that was the most natural thing for me to, because you live
the black woman.
Well, when she said that, because she lives in a society where her features makes her an underclass. Her features makes her alienated. It makes her an outcast. Of course, you're gonna hate your features. Look at the situation. The dude went to prison, and she becomes a movie star.
Shit.
Right? And but I mean, they addressed that, and I mean, she talked to the white rapper too, which I thought, like, why are you talking to a white? Like, here's my other problem: why didn't she talk to politicians and shit like that? Why didn't she talk to white people who were like on the same level of the black people, the historians that came in as black people? Why didn't she talk to white people on that level and not just entertainers and her fucking friends?
I think she was so here's the I don't know if that's jaded part, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But the one thought that crossed my mind while okay, to answer your question, entertainment, right? For entertainment value, that's why she covered those people. But the part that made me angry inside is it had me thinking about, since we've gotten off these slave ships, white people have found ways to make money from us, right?
But so that's
before it was music. And I'm starting to think today's fad is being an ally to black, understanding black. That's the new fad today.
Black trauma has always been the fad.
There we go.
It's always been commodifiable.
Yes.
It's always been. It's always been commodifiable. And that's why I'm watching when they're talking about the tragedy and the slaves and the kids going to jail and blah blah, all this stuff about like, I'm like, God damn, they really know how to paint us as victims, don't they? like holy shit. Am I like it's just Netflix puts out so many documentaries about where it's just like over and over. It's like at what point do we go, yeah, no, we know this is a problem, so is there a solution or can we talk about something else, or do you know what I mean? Like it's like and so I watched this documentary. It's just this poor Chelsea, bro. She had no idea she lives in this world.
Bro, okay, this is, Gavin, seriously, I love this conversation, man. You have no idea. Okay, let me confess something to you, right?
Yeah.
And you probably sensed it at the beginning. When you first suggested this movie, I'm starting to think, did Chelsea write him a check? Are we promoting this movie? Why the fuck am I going to listen to this white chick tell me basically everything you just said, right? Everything you just expressed is what I felt before the documentary.
Yeah.
Right? I had to force myself to watch this shit.
Yeah.
And what I realized about myself, this is where the positive comes out. This is the rose growing through the concrete here, is in the movie document, whatever, she mentions how I think it's the conclusion, like white people are going to have to start having an uncomfortable conversation about race in order to get it right. I felt like the documentary was part of that uncomfortable conversation. Because even I was pissed, I was angry, cringing. I was like, fucking white people bullshit, all the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And things like that. And it made me realize, and I mean to the dear white listeners out there, right? As long as you're sincere about your your feeling, not your feelings, your efforts to understand your white privilege, to understand your fellow black brothers and sisters and things like. As long as you have that sincerity, as long as you're not one of those white people who would rather appear to be not racist as opposed to not be racist, you can't go wrong. I mean, sure, you're gonna say some stupid shit. Sure, some black people might get mad around you, but as long as you can keep that sincerity, then you're gold. And I felt, even though this was an entertainment thing for her, I felt that sincerity on her part though.
Like, I don't know. I felt
actually
it as
trying to be a better person.
I felt it as a marketing ploy. I don't know how you can go through the world to that age in 2019 and think that, like, not know that you benefit from a system. Like, you know what I noticed? My wife and I took. My wife is a nanny, and we took the kid that she nannies to a movie.
Word?
Yeah, we went to see what's it called? We went to see Addams Family today, right? And when I noticed about all the entertainment that these movies like kind of like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and all that stuff is like, it's an anti-capitalist spin. Like, it's all like the idea of like, oh, individuality is wrong or being weird is wrong. What works is what being what everyone else is that's what works because we got to make money and sell blah blah blah. And it's like they put these anti-capitalist spins, but they never really put a label on it. And it's all neoliberalism, right? It's all like we can have rainbow-colored Oreos because that makes us money. But if hanging black people on a cross and burning it makes us money, we'll do that too.
We'll do that too, yes.
So it's all neoliberalism horseshit. I don't buy that Chelsea Handler grew up in a world where she's like, oh, well, I went to jail and the black guy went to jail and I'm a movie star, and she lives in that world and doesn't understand that that's the fucking thing. Like, I don't buy that you live in the United States and don't know that you benefit from white supremacy. And that's the thing. They never talk about white supremacy, and they never talk about how deep and how connected and how just what the system is and how you have a permanent underclass. Why are most of the people I'm talking to broke and black and like I watched that documentary and I'm like, oh, stop calling it privilege. Stop calling it privilege, because that's just another layer of insulation of like you said, oh, I don't know, or I need to check, or I don't understand and I need someone to tell me. But dude, I don't understand how if do you know what I mean? Like, if you live in a world where you're benefiting from something, why do you need to know about it?
Why would you need to know?
Yeah, like, why would you need to know that, like, your actions are hurting someone, or the thing that you benefit from? There's a flip side to it. Someone is being hurt by this.
Okay, how do I compare what you just said to your understanding of your male privilege?
Like, there's a lot of things where I'm like I used to think was hilarious about women and stuff. Like, I make fun of my wife for she sleeps with a knife, right? Not in bed, but like when I'm not home, she keeps a knife by the bed, and I used to think it was hilarious, and I still find it funny. But there's a real threat to women's life in this world.
Correct. Right.
So what my sister, who has a PhD in women's studies, she's one of the things that my wife did, and my sister talks about, is keeping weapons around the house.
Wow.
Right. That's the thing women should do.
Right.
Because that's the world they live in.
That's the living. No, yeah.
And so I have to do, as the best I can, is try to eliminate that the best I can. It's just like, oh yeah, fuck, I benefit from a lot of shit. Right. Because the system's set up for me to, as a man, to benefit from that shit. Regardless of, like, and I have it's also like it, but like also like I can do my part in it, but it's also like the straw debate, you know what I mean? It's also it's also a level of that where it's like, you know, they're encouraging us not to use straws because, you know, the turtles, but it's like, okay, but
right.
corporations are causing 75% of the pollution.
Correct. Yeah.
You know,
they're the real problem. Yeah.
I'm not saying that we shouldn't recycle, but come on, like my footprint's smaller than goddamn fucking Exxon. Right? Like there needs to be some real systemic change.
Yeah, or else we're bullshit.
Right, exactly. So when Chelsea Handler's discovering her white privilege, it's like, okay, well, let's. I mean, she talked about voter thing, but let's talk about like what white people can actually like. If she did a documentary, not about like, okay, well, these are the issues that black people are dealing with, and you did a documentary where this is what white people could do. As opposed to let me open up with the white, like in 2019. Hey, white people, who are the white people who? I have the argument with my wife. She's like, oh, after the Syria thing, there's going to be a lot of fucking Trump supporters jumping in bandwagon. I'm like, Trump supporters are diehard. Trump supporters will always support Trump. It doesn't matter. Right. It's like racism. Racists are going to be racist. People who don't want to see white privilege are not going to see white privilege. You're trying to get the people who are undecided. Or in this case, you're getting the people that already know about white privilege. Let's use that term for this.
Right.
So why isn't there a documentary that says, okay, white people, this is what you need to do, A, B, C, D, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? This is how you're going to affect systemic change. Why isn't there that documentary? Why are we retreading? It's boring. You know what I mean?
I get it. No, I get 100%. No, I get it in the sense that, okay, oh my God, Terry Crews? Terry Crews.
Yeah.
Terry Crews. And then there's an interview that was done with him. I think it was GQ. And the title goes, Terry Crews believes that men should hold each other accountable. Now, before I read it, I had negative feelings because, Terry Crews been on this, and again, before I read it, I want to be clear, before I read it, I was already defensive. I was feeling attacked. And my first thought was, come on, Terry, you out of all people should know that you can't tell a man what to do. No, there's a difference between telling a man what to do and getting a man to do what you want him to do. You know what I mean? Like saying shit like to a woman, we need to hold men accountable. Nah, man, no dude is going to listen to you.
Yeah.
When I read the piece, I realized, no, he understands that A, it's an uphill battle. B, if you're one of those men trying to hold other men accountable, you're on a lonely road. And the only reason his support is his wife. His wife keeps backing him up and shit like that. So I guess for white people, it's in the same thing. Fuck, come on. You can't tell these crackers anything. Yo, they still want to say the N-word. They still want to say nigga. You know what I mean?
Well, it's also like
finding loopholes, but you can't tell these white folks what to do. No, they got to realize it for themselves. And the part is, what makes it difficult is realizing it is going to unearth some pain. So technically, besides being a good individual, a good person, they have no incentive to understand us, understand our problem or their privilege.
Well, it's like I listened to a podcast called Champagne Sharks, and they were talking about like the idea of system bias and like systemic bias, and it's like, well, it's like oh, we got to fight against bias. It's like, yeah, but the bias came from systemic racism, right? Like the bias is there because of a thing. You don't fight the bias, you fight the system.
You fight the system.
You've changed, and it's like your Terry Crews article. It's like, it's like, oh, he's right. Like men have to change, but it's also like you're in an industry that sells women. Like it's like they never point fingers at themselves. But let's be honest. There's a lot of these Me Too stuff has come out of Hollywood. It's come out of people with power, right? And they've commodified the use of women. Like how many times do you watch what was those NCIS or Law and Order, and it's like it's a Body of the Week episode where it's like some woman's murdered and then they go investigate. Like they've normalized murdering women on shows like that.
Wow.
So it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be doing shit. I'm just saying it's like, fuck, there's bigger shit than us. It's like, And I find whenever like these shows and these things talk about this kind of stuff, they talk about it on a surface level and they never talk about like what could be done.
Yo, this is like introduction to your racism.
Yeah, it's the Green Book. It's like
It's the Green Book.
It's the Green Book. It's like it's just like fucking. It's like, oh my god, the Green Book taught me that black people who are geniuses are human like me too. That's the Green Book, and it's like, oh yeah, but the Green Book was created because black people were being terrorized in the South for years.
And they had the places to go. Fuck, it's amazing. This shit was way before the internet.
It was. Look, I don't even hate Chelsea Handler. I don't know how you feel about her.
No, I don't hate her. No. After watching this documentary, I was actually I remember messaging you. And you're like, don't ever doubt. It's like, yeah, come on, man, I'm Haitian. Only one I don't doubt is white Jesus.
When you saw it on Netflix, what did you like? What were you like? I'm not touching this motherfucker.
Initially, yeah, I remember hearing about it.
Yeah,
but blonde hair, blue eye, white woman. I'm going to talk about racism.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've seen this shit before. My heart's already been broken before. But I'm surprised you didn't bring this part up. The white rapper in there.
Yeah.
He said something. Basically, this form of desperation that he lives in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't trust the government because he was in the system. I don't trust the government. And I like the title when it was him and all his crew and everything, black and white. His crew, all tatted up and everything, right? And I like the word that he used. He goes, I relate to people who believe, to folks saying, no one is out here to help us. We're on our own.
Yeah. People
with that mindset. When he said that dude, that's probably as close to understanding black people just by that one statement. Because he said that, ain't nobody out here trying to help us. Fuck the government. Government's not helping us, something like that there. That level, I guess that's poverty. That's, you end up realizing
system.
that shit.
Yeah, there's a class system.
The class system. Yeah. So, now, I don't know if he talked about, if he was on point on privilege, but I like the mindset of, I'm part of the crew. I'm part of the people. What we have in common is the belief that no one is out here trying to help us. Fuck these politicians. They're always making fake promises. These rich people are, rich get richer, poor get poorer, and we got to figure this shit out for ourselves.
Yeah, the only difference with him is that he was just born into a situation. Like, if he was born into a different situation or had some different circumstances, he wouldn't be in that situation. Whereas if you're black, you always got that level of situation.
That level of
You might not be broke like that, but you always have some level of some shit you got to fight against.
That level of I've been meaning to tell you, it finally hit me why my trip to Hamilton freaked me out.
Oh yeah, that freaked you out hard, didn't it?
It freaked, you know what I mean?
It's okay. It does that to people, man. This town
it became a bit for everyone else. I turned into a punchline, but really, the part that traumatized me is crossing paths, making eye contact with white men who had a facial expression that I have only seen on black men, that I usually see on black men, which is, I don't give a fuck. I'm actually hoping, like, I'm suicidal, but killing myself would be a bitch move. So I'm kind of hoping you're the guy who's gonna take me, who's gonna send me to my creator. You know what I mean?
Dude, that is dead on. There are people there who want to, like that guy that came into the show and he had a tat on his face. Yeah. He's waiting for someone to do something.
Do something and everything like that. Something. Exactly.
Yeah, I walk around. I walk around the town I grew up like middle class, and I have to walk around this town with a certain level of. This could be not that I'm like, oh, this could be the day. It's not that dramatic, but it is like, okay.
Yeah,
I have a little bit of what a woman would have, a little bit of an understanding, not as much as a woman would out in, but that at night I'm like, I got to be aware, man.
Yeah, my surroundings.
And like they just came out with an article, and I was telling you before we started, they talked about how Hamilton has become a cautionary tale because of the hate crimes in Hamilton. And so it's like, but I knew about this shit way before they started. Oh my God. Oh, I'm like, no, you just got to be here for a bit in certain places. There's a level of ignorance in this town that you're just like, oh yeah, this is going to boil over. Someone better get that pasta off the stove because the water is boiling over. It's like these people are so free to say the N-word, like it's like crazy. Like I can't even say it, and they say it. Like just white people, like I'm like I've never had that happen before. It's like, and people look at me like I'm the weirdo for having anxiety going into fucking comedy rooms.
Wow, wow.
Yeah,
yo,
like,
man,
whoa, you need to calm down, bro.
Bad. Hamilton's real. And someone told me, he goes, yo, fuck, wait till you get to Winnipeg. I say, wait, it gets worse?
Yeah,
fuck that.
Dude.
I'm staying in Ottawa in my little bubble.
But Ottawa,
complaining about taxes.
Ottawa's a piece of shit. I'll hands down Ottawa's a piece of shit. Ottawa's
not on the surface.
Ottawa's Hamilton no, it's not. It's aesthetically it's not Hamilton, but Ottawa's like a suburban Hamilton, but with like with a level of government HR bred into you guys. You know what I mean? So you're offended for everything, but you're like so tone deaf it's not funny.
Holy shit, someone just said that yesterday.
Yeah.
Something similar like that. Yeah, you vote liberal and all that shit.
Yeah,
what?
yeah. It's just you've been beaten so much. It's like you're like slow moving zombies in that town. You know what I mean? Except you don't need brains. It's just racism. It's just clueless racism. It's just like I should be offended, you know. It's but yeah, Hamilton. Yeah, you're right. There's a level of like there's a lot of. But when you told me where you were staying, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna say anything. You're in the heart of it, dude. You were in Jackson Square. That's like, dude.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
okay,
man,
I didn't think that through. Yo, fucking, who did I book it with? I forget. Was it hotel.ca?
It's not a bad hotel. It's not a bad hotel, but the area you're in is
the
like,
area,
nah.
yes. It's grimy as fuck.
Yeah,
yes.
it's fuck.
Oh, no wonder I had to swipe my key to get in the elevator. Okay, yay.
Yeah.
We want to make sure you have to have a key to get into your room.
You just like you don't walk around that neighborhood with headphones on. That's all I'm saying. At night,
bro. When you were telling me shit like that, that's usually instructions I get when I'm in Brooklyn, East Oakland.
How many times have I said?
That.
How many times on this podcast? And I feel kind of racist when I say it, but it's white Baltimore in Hamilton.
It's white. Oh my god! Oh my! My barber called it. He called it Gotham City.
Yeah.
It's white Baltimore.
Yeah. Well, we do have a Joker and a Penguin. It is, and you weren't even the worst areas. There's some fucking
and I was not in
areas
the worst
where you just don't want to go. Don't go to Barton Street.
Jesus Christ! Fuck! It's shit like that makes me wonder. I don't think I was made for this world.
Well, yeah, I was talking to a comic recently about it, and I'm like, last night, I'm like, oh, they're like, oh, they're talking about their hard rooms. I'm like, you didn't come up in Hamilton. Like the crowds they're angry people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Excuse me. Exactly how my barber, who's from there, called it. You know what I mean? He said, "Yeah, no, they're angry people." He was telling me how I can't remember what famous rapper was there, and they wouldn't move from. They wouldn't man.
I'm shocked your barber friend didn't come out like with Stockholm syndrome. I find black people that grow up in this town have Stockholm syndrome. That is not racist here. He calls me the N-word. That's just that's how buddies do it.
Yo, he told me some story. Actually, it's funny. We were just talking about it today.
Yeah.
One of the guys goes, "Yeah, did you experience racism in Hamilton?" He goes, "Yeah." This one guy decided to take was it a doll or an effigy, whatever, and hang him. Basically, it was to show a hanging of a black person, but they used a doll in the middle of the school or in the school lot, whatever.
Yeah,
and that turned into a big race.
These small towns.
Like that,
these small towns. Well, I mean, I guess Hamilton's a city. We didn't do a rating on this movie at all.
Oh, right.
Okay, why don't we stop it here and so you can hear the. Okay, so that was the first part of this episode. The second part is on our Patreon. That's patreon.com/the uncolonized. $5 a month, you can get 8 episodes. $5 a month. Come on, more than a cup of coffee, right? I have no idea. Anyway, so yeah, that's the uncolonized. That's patreon.com/the uncolonized. You can get the second part of this episode plus the second part of every other episode. Where we will be continuing talking about the federal election coming up and so much more. Enjoy. Thank you. Thanks for listening.